Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Good way to
Cheers.
start, Rob.
Absolutely. Cheers from Brussels.
Yes,
Yeah.
cheers. I wish we were there with you.
Yeah.
God, this kills me. We're not there.
It
Hopefully,
was
Next year, though.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
it was so weird last Friday. The brewery should be normally full of people, full of people logging, drinking, festing, and totally empty. It was sad. It was sad. So, but next year it will be
Even better.
nice. Yeah, even better.
Even better.
Well, like you said, John, in an email
like the
to
friendship
the group.
blend. Like the friendship blend.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
One more year. Yes, one more year for such a beer.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to have another, not only our friendship, but the beer will have another year under its belt. So it can't hurt a beer like this, that's for sure. Jean, do you want to maybe start out and give the background of how this all kind of came to be, since it was your idea originally to reach out to Allagash and Russian River?
So Quintessence was born in '98. My father and all the family, we were looking to organize a fest to fest the 20th anniversary of the museum. You know, we opened the museum in '78 to try to preserve and to save the Cantillon brewery. And in '98, we decided to organize for the first time the Quintessence alone, only with Cantillon beers. And in 2012, I changed a bit the way to organize it, and I decided to invite for the first time friends, foreign breweries. We did it with Italian breweries, and in 2014, the logic way was to continue with friends, but friends producing spontaneous fermentation beer, and that's why I immediately think about you. Russian River and Allagash. And the normal way for such a party, for such an event, was simply to try to organize, to make a collaboration all together and to blend our different beers. And that's why you sent me your Sonnenbeek, your Resurgam, and we made a beautiful blend. Only with 3 years old beer. All of our beers were old one, if I remember well. And I've still some bottles on the side, still aging. The beer aged very well. But I think the second batch is more balanced. The beer is really very, very nice. That's I will send you some bottles.
Okay.
We won't argue with that. Sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think a couple of us are enjoying the version from last time here.
Yeah, Natalie and I are in separate offices, not because we need the social distance, but from a technology standpoint.
No label for the new one. White Friendship blend.
Yeah, Rob, we've got the American version also that Natalie and I are both tasting here too.
I think I've got the Cantillon version at my house, and then Jason's on the far other side of the brewery, which maybe when I finish this, I'll like run over there, get a glass and run back. But this drinking great.
More important than the beer, Rob, I'm looking at a question that just popped up. How come Rob's not in uniform, i.e. his Cantillon t-shirt like the rest of us?
I totally should have brought that in. I totally should have brought that in.
Well, I'm prepared too, because when I get warm, there's another one underneath here too. So I got multi layers.
So while we're talking about our merchandise and our logos and stuff, I have a little bit of a lot of a tradition. Maybe it's a little bit of a superstition. You know, a bit like an athlete who, you know, maybe is in the World Series or something. He doesn't want to change his socks or whatever. I only wear Cantillon T-shirts when I work in the Funky Brewery, and so
really,
that's my thing. And every once in a while it'll be a cold morning, and I'll have a sweatshirt on that's not Cantillon, and one of our brewers, particularly Zach, our lead brewer, will say, "There's a Cantillon shirt under there, right?" And I'll be like, yeah. But this is, I call this my dress Cantillon T-shirt. Because this one is like it's not a work T-shirt. It's my favorite logo of all the Swansea logos, and luckily we've done Swansea with you so many years, and we've made T-shirts that I have a mass
Well,
collection
17.
of
It's
Cantillon.
the one we made for my second son, for Sylvain.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so John, I never do funky work in anything other than a Cantillon shirt.
And for us, when we had our cool ship built back in 2007, right before our first batch, we christened it with a bottle of Cantillon, kind of like when you launch a ship. So we had a bottle of Cantillon. We broke it on the side of the cool ship, and then
I remember
filling it.
You sent me the video.
Yeah. So hopefully, well, it's proved out to be pretty good luck.
That's great. We when we finished our cool ship, we christened it with a bottle of Wild Friendship blend.
Yeah,
cool.
The Belgian version. We didn't break it. We didn't want to waste it. So
we drank it.
We drank it.
Yeah. But it's the only bottle that's up on display in our cool ship. So, John, you will see that next year when you come out and when we do the American version of all this. So
the Belgian version and the American version will be so close.
The release.
Yeah, from a timing standpoint, for sure. So,
did you receive the lambic?
We did, yeah. We've got it at the warehouse, and Vinny and I were just chatting the other day about getting his coming our way. So we should be able to get that blended at some point soon too. But it's probably worth explaining that too, where, you know, for the folks listening in, that I think it's kind of funny of my memory of how the American version happened is, you know, we sent beer to you, Jean, and so did Vinny, and then we sent it in kegs, of course. And I think you just emailed us one day and said, "You want me to send these kegs back to you full?" And it was probably maybe the easiest question I've ever answered in my life was absolutely. So you send all those kegs back to us, and that's kind of how the American version was born from there. So I think we did the event with you in 2014, correct? I
14
think.
at the brewery, 15 in the US.
15 in the US, and so we got to have
2
three
days
different
in between.
parties.
2 days in between, the one in Santa Rosa and the one in Portland.
And so for that first American blend, we then shipped additional beer to Portland, Maine. I flew out. We made the blend, Rob and Jason and I, and then I can't remember if it's the same day or the next day we bottled all of it with Jason and I on the bottling line working it, and all the brewers and the team came out from Allagash, and they thought it was so cool that Jason had gone old school and he was back working the old original filler that you probably ran a million times.
I also remember the crew was especially impressed with you because, not to embarrass you, but the crew here, like many beer geeks in America, look at you as a rock star. So to have you come out to visit us and work the corker for a while, I think they were pretty impressed.
I expect to do the same thing again. So, so to get a little follow-up to what Jason just was talking about, we will now, he now has all the kegs full and back here in America. So we had shipped beer to Jean. Mm-hmm. He then made his blend, filled the kegs back up, shipped them to Allagash, and we'll ship more of our Sinambic, our spontaneous beer, to Allagash. And if travel will let us, we will, if the government will let us travel, we'll make it out there and do the blend. Otherwise, Jason will have to do it without us. But I'm always up for Natalie and I are always up for a trip to Portland to not just see our friends at Allagash, but to go eat those lobster rolls at Eventide. So
yep, I was thinking the same thing this morning.
And you guys can see, it's funny. Oh, I'm trying to point and it's like trying to do something in a mirror. But last time Vinnie and Natalie visited the brewery, which had to be 4 years ago, they wrote on my dry erase board, "Hi Rob, sorry we missed you. Love Vinnie and Natalie. I haven't erased it, so it's got to stay there now."
Yeah,
I'll leave it for your next visit.
Absolutely. So Jean, there's a question that popped up that's asking how many bottles approximately are now in your underground cellar?
About 25,000, I think.
Wow.
In between 20 and 25,000, mainly goes. The oldest are beers from 2002. We have also the other beers we can age for a while. It means 50 North, the two first versions, the Lupepe Creek. What else? Mamouche, because Mamouche aged also very, very well. Bruxelles beers and different contains. So we have mainly 75 centiliters bottles, but also Magnum, 3 liters, 6 liters. So it's a nice cellar. Yeah, that's the idea is to open it for maybe a special event, event we will organize. We are speaking about it with all the Brussels breweries to organize a big Brussels beer fest with all the breweries from the region, bars, restaurants, and in this case, the goal is to open the famous bomb shelter, the famous cellar. Because
is that what you call it, the bomb shelter?
Bomb shelter. Yes, it's an old bomb shelter. It's an old bomb shelter. So yeah. That's you see it. You have old sentence on the walls. It's very nice. You feel a strange atmosphere in it. Yeah.
Can you tell the listeners, viewers, kind of how that came to be? How you and I don't know if it was your dad or just you that found this, because isn't it like city property?
It's in fact I visited in 2012 or 13 the Champagne area. And so we visited several Champagne cellar. And when I saw those cellars full of Champagne bottles, old bottles aging for years, I was a bit disappointed because I could do the same with my bottles, but I had no space for. And so when I came back to Brussels, I sent a message to different people from the city, politics. And I was a bit worried because normally I was quite sure that no one will answer to my question. And finally, yes, two of them found the idea very nice and decide to help me to find a place to receive all those bottles. And so we visited about 8 to 10 different places and include 2 bomb shelters. One was really beautiful, but the only way the only access was to take old sewer, so it was totally impossible to do it with thousands of bottles. And so we finally decide to choose the second one. And the second one is an historical one because it was built in the old harbor from the city, because Brussels was a harbor where the boat came directly from the sea till 1910, 1911, just before World War I. And so the bomb shelter was built in a part of this old harbor, and we choose this bomb shelter for the cellar. And the other coincidence, my great grandfather René Troch, so my Paul Cantillon, the Cantillon founder, was married with Marie Troch, my great grandmother, and Marie Troch's father was also a lambic brewer, and René Troch had a building in front, so warehouse in front of the bomb shelter. So the cellar I choose, and I didn't know it. So my parents had months later a meeting with René Troch ancestors, a woman who had documents, and on those documents we could see that he owned a warehouse in front of the cellar. So that's, I don't know if it's a coincidence. I don't think so.
No, that's amazing. That's incredible. Wow, definitely meant to be.
Yeah. But did we visited last time? No.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
we haven't.
Yeah,
We visited
your
your new annex brewery.
Yeah.
It's around the corner,
but not the bomb shelter.
Oh,
not the bomb shelter. No,
not the bomb
We just
shelter.
went to the annex.
Yeah.
Right.
So next time.
Next time.
Yeah, for sure. So,
for sure.
What other questions do you guys see popping up here?
I saw a question come up about how we come up with the blend. The question was a ways ago, but it was about do you guys actually kind of have the blend in mind, like when you're selecting the beers for the blend, or do you just kind of take whatever you have and then the blend just kind of makes itself? Maybe you talk a little bit more about how the blend is developed.
I think for me, it's I just pick what I think's the best spontaneous beer, the best Synambic that we have available to send for either blend. I wasn't necessarily looking at a specific year, but maybe Jason and John have something else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that first version that we sent over, I think we were just looking for kind of our best stuff, and I think it kind of ended up that it was a little bit old on the older side. But Vinnie and Allagash just like separately came up with our best and then sent it to Jean, and then I think it was kind of up to Jean to pick lambic from his cellars that melded well with what we had sent him. So in the end, I think the real blending was really done by Jean.
But for me, it was easy. So you sent me spontaneous fermentation beer, and I choose, in my opinion, the best Cantillon lambic to be blended with the beers you sent me. That's it was easier for this version, because for the first one in 2014, you sent me the beer in late 2013. I remember both of your beers were product with a lot of character, a lot of body. And so I remember I choose a Cantillon lambic, very soft, mellow, to bring something delicate in it. And the beer you sent some months ago were both quite nice, delicate, and it was easier to work with the beer you sent me some months ago than the one in 2013.
Hey Jason, basically, what he's saying is Cantillon made Allagash and Russian River look a lot better than we are.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's what I can see it in Rob's eyes. Like, that's what he was reading into that. So. I think from our standpoint, we've become a lot better at making spontaneous beer than, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know how you guys feel at Allagash. But I just feel like we're in a better groove now, and we just maybe our conditions are a little bit nicer, but our spontaneous beer is a lot softer now. I'll never forget the first bottle of spontaneous beer that we made, the beatification. It was our first batch of 100% spontaneous made beer. Brought it to Cantillon, and John, your father and your mom and you and I tasted it, and our friend Dave Keene was there from the Toronado, and Dave said to me, "Are you nervous?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I'm nervous. This is like taking the Pope holy water, like taking your father,
especially with my father,
beer." I mean, I was so nervous. And that beer was so had such high acid. It wasn't acidic, but it had such sharp lactic. And over the years, we've seen our acidity soften up and just the way that we control the beer and age it. And in some sense, that's happening more on the cellar side than in the brewery, in the brew house side, in the brewing process.
But with my father, it's a real test, because for him only lambic exists, and even in the brewery, lambic goes, let's say, creek, and that's it. So all the other beers doesn't have to exist. It's so he could survive with lambic, goes, and creek. That's it.
Hey, I saw one other question just on, well, it's a very related note to why we're doing this remotely and not in person, but and that's actually a couple questions. What do your breweries look like right now? Has production been affected by COVID-19? I'll start, and Vinnie and Natalie and Jason and I have talked a little, and I'm interested next to hear from John, but I was on the phone with someone today, and she said, "Wow, you guys must be really busy. Everyone's drinking a lot at home." But unfortunately, about 55% of our volume is for the bar and restaurant segment. So when this whole thing hit on March 16th, basically every one of our distributors canceled every single order they had for kegs. And so our volume's down over 50%. And of course, we closed our tasting room actually before the state mandate even. So we're definitely feeling it. We'll figure things out, and we're gearing up to do more on the can front. We luckily just put in a new canning line and released white 12 packs, but we're feeling it for sure. Jean, how is it affecting things at your brewery and in Brussels?
We fortunately don't work so much with bars and restaurants, what we call here in Belgium HoReCa, hotel, restaurant, cafe. But we are down for about 30%, which is a good thing. So I think we have mainly to have talked for our friends leading restaurants, bars. They are in troubles, big troubles, and no, we don't have to complain. We reopened the brewery for takeaway next Monday. Naturally, we are working with a lot of foreigners normally, so I don't know if we'll have a lot of people or not. We organized during the first month delivery at home, only in Brussels, only in the city. It was a big success. I was a bit impressed, because we always say that Belgian people and Brussels people don't care about lambic, about real goose, traditional goose. But no, we got a lot of orders, and I was surprised, but in the right way. So things are not going so bad. We had a lot of orders cancelled, mainly coming from south of Europe, Italy, France, Spain, a bit from UK, and some customers coming from mainly from north of Europe and east asked if we had not too much beer because they were ready to pick it up, and so we sent a bit less beer in south, more on the north of the continent. It's not going so bad, but I hope it will end soon because we all need it.
Yeah.
Natalie, do you want to give a synopsis of where we're at, and then we can.
So our business is about 50% retail, 50% wholesale distribution. So between our pubs and our gift shop, that's about 50% of our revenue. So, when everything shut down, we had to pivot pretty quickly, but thankfully the grocery stores in our area are doing really well for, off-premise packaged goods. And so we pretty much stopped kegging beer and just started bottling more beer. So the wholesale distribution for package is doing pretty good. It's keeping us afloat right now. And then we started shipping beer online within the state of California, and that's been going pretty well for us. So it doesn't quite make up for the other lost revenue, but and then our pub downtown is doing a decent takeaway business because it's pizza and beer, so it's pretty straightforward. So we're down about, I think, 30%, Vinny, for overall production. So not too bad. So we're doing okay. It
could be a lot worse.
It could be a lot worse,
Sure.
but we're kind of like you, Jean, in that we do rely heavily on tourism, not just for our business, but for all the businesses in the area, being that it's such a heavy wine region, and so we really need to get back to some new sense of normalcy, and hope that the tourists will return to support the community. This is not our first disaster in the last few years. We've had a couple of pretty serious wildfires and now a global pandemic. But, I think for all of us, there's no playbook for this. We've never experienced anything like this in our lifetimes. And it's certainly not something you learn about in school or from your parents even. So we're all just kind of figuring this out as we go, including these virtual tastings and happy hours and experiences. So we would much rather be with you personally.
What other questions do we want to cover here, you guys?
There's a lot. It's hard to keep up with them all.
Yeah. I
Tasting
saw.
Notes? Debbie, what do you guys think on the tasting notes front?
Yeah, so we might as well roll through the three beers we're tasting. Which one do you have, Jason? You have the Belgian?
I've got both. I've got both.
All right. I'd say that.
I see here people ask for about Zwans a day. Can I answer?
Yeah, go for it.
So Zwans I don't know yet. So if we organize it, we will organize it in a normal way. No, normal way means everywhere in the world, so worldwide. So if we have to cancel it in some part of the world, we won't organize it. So Zwans Day is also a type of friendship event with a lot of friends coming from all over the world. And if some of them couldn't participate, no, I think the feeling won't be present, and I don't want to organize it. That's the first thing. And the second thing, we are producing since 2 years now a beautiful beer called Drogone. Drogone is lambic mixed with vinacce, Italian vinacce. So vinacce in Italian language is the pomace grapes, so the spent grapes, if you want. The grape variety is Aglianico, and it's a grape aged on skin for 3 months in chestnut barrel. And so the winemaker press it to extract the wine and send us the trash. But it's a beautiful trash because we are making an amazing beer with it. And the idea, because I received stuff enough to produce a bit more than 2,000 liters, because for Zwanze we need to produce more than 2,000 liters. I received end December stuff enough, and we decide, winemakers and I, to use this beer for Zwanze. But with the success of the beer, with the demand for the beer, Daniela and Antonio asked me to produce finally more bottles and less kegs. And so it was in February. So in February, I had no beer enough to keg and to dedicate it for Zwanze. And so in February, we had to found another experiment. So we did it, but the second problem is I don't know if the beer will be ready for September. So we have to decide within 1 month, 1 month and a half. So let's see. So final decision in June.
I know for us, with this, we're probably going to be at 50% capacity for our restaurants that, we normally do Zwanze at our original Santa Rosa pub. Mm-hmm. And, but that being 50% capacity would be such a drastically different event. Yeah. I guess the flip side is our new brewery normally seats 200. And so 100 people there isn't too bad, all things considered, but that still wouldn't be the same amount of people that we normally would have seated. And, the beautiful thing has always been is that everyone that we seated at Zwanze would get a glass of Zwanze, and then plus all the other beers, of course. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I don't want to organize it only to organize it. If we have no pleasure behind it, no, it's Zwanze. Zwanze is a typical Brussels humor. So you have to smile, you have to laugh. If we can't, no Zwanze.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, you want to talk about the 2 beers? We've got the original blend, and then the American blend, and then maybe Jean can talk a little bit about the newer Belgian blend.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you guys can help chime in a little bit. They're quite different. I mean, there's an additional year. Sorry, I'm blocking myself here with the glasses, but additional year of time on the Cantillon version, and that may be contributing to it. But it's definitely it's softer. It's definitely a little bit more acidic, but I would say overall it's softer than the American version, I would say.
The American version has a little more hops to it. I would also say what I really like about the Belgian version is, and Natalie and I always talk about this when we drink a nice aged Goose Lambic, is it's got this little bit of a marshmallow quality to it that I remember, Jean, once you poured Natalie and I a quite old bottle of Cantillon, and it just had the most beautiful marshmallow notes to it. Ironically, all these young whippersnappers in America are adding marshmallows and all these crazy ass ingredients, and you get this amazing marshmallow flavor by doing it natural fermentation. So, what's the new blend taste like there, Jean?
Compared to the first one, I remember the first one, the bread in those time and time to time, always in US, in the famous Amlam, we found back some bread flavor that we don't found back, especially in lambic. And in the first blend, this bread flavor was present. This blend, the last one, is really well balanced. The three beers are present. No one is coming over the other. It's very nice. It's soft, well balanced, nice body. I think it will be a very, very good beer. And here for this one, if I drink it blind, I will have difficulties to find a non-lambic in it. So it's for me it's a real success. That's I'm very happy about it, really.
That's good to hear.
Can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, what other questions?
I did see not a question, but a virtual hugs coming from our mutual good buddy Tom Peters. So
nice.
Cheers,
Of
Tom.
course.
Oh, Tom.
He says he's got a bottle of Cantillon Goose and a bottle of Sanctification and some Cool Ship. So he's covering his bases.
Nice. Yeah, he certainly is. There was an early question about what hops do we use. I think we're all using aged hops. Ours are all of the European cultivar, so they're all typical like French or German hops for us at Russian River that we age out ourselves. So we have our own aged hop program where we're turning hops through, probably much like Cantillon does. For years, we could just call the hop brokers and just buy all their old, German or European style hops. But now we've gone into our own program, and we even use all the aged hops in all of our other barrel aged funky sour beers.
Yeah, I remember when we started our project in 2007, it was kind of an afterthought. We were getting, building the room and getting the Cool Ship built, and then it was like, oh shit, we need some aged hops. It's like not something we had around. So luckily, like Vinnie mentioned, Hop Union, as they were called at that point in time, had for whatever reason bales of hops kicking around their warehouse, so we were able to buy them kind of pre-aged for us. But we now have moved to, we're almost exclusively Hallertau hops now, and we just age them ourselves here.
Yeah. I'm a little long on some Styrian Golding Cellar, so long term those are going to end up being some of our aged hops as they age out, because I can't get out of that contract, and we don't have any other use for them. We're just not selling as much damnation as we once did. So.
In Brussels, someone replanted hops plant, and some of them with Quagno. So Quagno hop is the original hop used to produce lambic and 90s, early 20th century. And so not for this harvest, but we hope for the next one to harvest about 40, 50, maybe 60 kilo. So it's nothing, but it will be enough for 2 brews.
So 132 pounds.
Yeah, I believe you. And so it will be, if it's possible, it will be so nice to reuse the original hop, fresh one, because for this hop was used fresh. It's a hop with a very, very low alpha acid, and to use hop coming from the city. Yeah. But maybe for the season 2021-2022.
Do you know, Jean, what the beta acid is on those hops, or do you not know that?
Quagno? No.
No. Yeah.
No, alpha. It's between 2 and 2.5.
Yeah. It'd be curious to hear what the beta acids are of a hop that was originally used for lambic production. There's an American hop called Tea Maker that's really low in alpha acid, but it's quite high in beta acid. Beta acids being where the antimicrobial kind of component
I can
of the hop
ask
lives.
for. I can ask for.
And I've always been curious if maybe Tea Maker would suppress the bacteria growth too much. Or if it would actually be a positive thing. So, I don't know, Jason, if you know this, but Siegel grows those.
Yeah. We've talked to John about that. I believe John is watching us at the moment.
Oh, is he?
John's on.
Hey,
I saw him in the chat.
Don't worry, John. We won't age any of your high oil cascades.
Yeah.
Beat them up too much.
Here's a good question, you guys. This person wants to know if we could each tell us your personal favorite beers from each other's breweries.
I can. STS for Russian River, the Pills, and Rosetta Gambrinus for Cantillon.
Cool.
Jason?
Well, I can't believe he jumped the gun on me.
I can't believe that.
Pills from me.
Yeah, everyone loves the Pills. I mean, it's just a classic.
No, I love that beer. I would say I'd probably say Lupepe Creek from Cantillon. I mean, there's so many good choices, but that's I know we've been fortunate enough when we visit you, Jean, you pull out some really just phenomenal bottles for us. And I remember one particular, I don't remember the year, but the vintage year, but there was one particular bottle of Pepe Creek that was just absolutely remarkable.
Natalie?
I actually like kind of the standards. I like Allagash White. Can't get enough of that when I'm in Maine eating lobster rolls. And then my favorite Cantillon beer is, I always start with the Goose. I just love that beer. I love them all, but that's just kind of my favorite.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo the Goose. I know that's like so almost vanilla and plain, but like I always think of that like is the foundation of everything that Jean does. And so like you have this foundation beer that becomes almost not everything you do, but because obviously you make a lot of different recipes, but it's almost like when we go to our Santa Rosa restaurant, like we can eat the margarita pizza and know that it is, if it tastes good, everything else is going to be good because it's the basis for everything. Of course, I love Allagash White. It was on my 6-pack of favorite beers in Craft Beer and Brewing magazine a few years ago. But I'm actually I don't even know if you make this anymore. Do you guys make Interlude anymore? The Brett finished
yeah, it's
beer.
It's one of my favorites. We make it. Last year we made it literally for our own staff only, basically, and then it's a base beer for another fruited wild beer we make. But it's definitely very much a staff favorite here. We've been giving away 1.5 liters or 3 liters of that to employees the last couple of years. Just been kind of fun.
Yeah, really beautiful Brett finished beer. So,
and that's actually a Brett strain that we found growing in a batch of beer. Gosh, must have been back in like 2004 or 2005 in our original facility. And we isolated it, and so it's like a Portland, Maine Brett culture. But it's a really cool Brett because I at least find a lot of Bretts kind of coarse. This is a real like gentle, fruity, like Jolly Ranchery, watermelony Brett.
Nice. Jean, how about you?
Resurgam, because it's the first spontaneous fermentation beer made out of Belgium. So it's not only because it's a good beer, it was a bit the start of something new about spontaneous fermentation beer out of Belgium. So it was also a very good sign for lambic producers, for lambic brewers. And for you, Vinnie and Natalie, I think Blind Pig.
Right.
It's that's everybody's speaking about Pliny, but I don't know why, but Blind Pig, and we receive time to time Pliny the Elder at the breweries. So we have very nice people are coming with bottles, but we don't receive a Blind Pig, so it's also probably why.
That's good to know when they ask me next time when someone comes to the brewery and says, I'm going to be at Cantillon next week and I want to give them a gift. What will it be? I will now know. And I saw a question.
If I receive too much Blind Pig,
then you'll go back. I saw a question pop up, which you saying Blind Pig for your IPA answers it. They said, Jean, what is your favorite hazy IPA? And I'm pretty sure you're not a hazy IPA drinker. You don't see them that much like we do.
Not so much. No, it's it's, and for me an IPA has to be dry.
Yeah.
And so hazy IPA too fruity and too sweet for me.
So Jean, when we an interesting point about hazy IPAs. So we're making a couple. And they're doing really good, and ours are drier and more bitter than the average. But it's weird because most of the American brewers that are making them are very secretive about their process and how they make the beer stay hazy. So I called the people that have been making hazy beer, some of the longest in America. I called Allagash and hit Jason up for tips on how do you keep beer hazy, because we were having a really hard time with it, and I got some nice advice from Jason.
I used to go into accounts back in the 90s trying to sell the Allagash White and pour samples for bartenders, and the first thing pretty much everyone said was like, what's wrong with it? Why does it look like this? Why is it so cloudy?
Now it's all the rage.
It is crazy.
Now it's not hazy enough.
Yeah. What other questions you see popping up we want to answer?
What's your favorite commercially available strain of Brett's?
That's not a question for me.
Not for you. Nope.
You don't need to. For me, I go kind of old school for what can be what you could purchase as a home brewer or another brewery. I still really like the Bruxellensis from Y Yeast. It's the original Brett strain that I first used years and years and years ago. But we have a couple of private strains that I like the most that aren't publicly available that we use and we often blend, that we get from a wine lab over in Napa, that they lifted this Brett from some wine from some local wineries.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have any true favorites, because we, for one, and we do a lot with Allagash, our own Brett strain, as Brett Michaels, as we call it around here. And so we do a lot with that. And the other thing that's interesting is, this, depending on the yeast supplier, the obviously that one person's Brett Brux is very different than another person's Brett Brux. So it's so dependent on the kind of source and that it comes from. But yeah, we use mostly our own strain for that. I just saw a question come through that I think it's an interesting one for Jean. It's just about, it's basically what percentage of your beers are leaning towards innovation versus historic brands and traditions. And I think it's a cool question, because I've always really admired you, Jean, and your approach where on the one hand you're making, great classic styles like Goose and Creek, but you're also doing some fun side projects.
Goose represent about 35-40%. So we continue. People are always asking for specials, but for the common lambic drinker and Goose drinker, Goose is still the favorite. Kriek, about 15%. The same for Rosé de Gambrinus. So that's Gueuse, Kriek, and Framboise represent about 70%. And for the specials, it depends mainly from the stuff. So a beautiful beer, for example, I think we drank one all together with your staff the last time. It's La Vie Belge, so the lambic aged in a vin jaune barrel. My dream is to produce more, but I receive only 2 barrels every year. So we produce 400, a bit more, about 400 liters. So if anyone wants to convert it in gallons.
How many liters did you say?
400.
That's not much.
Yeah, it's not much.
That's nothing.
Gallons.
It's about 100 gallons.
Yeah.
So
that's nothing. And so the same for some grapes, for example. When you receive only 400, 500, 600 kilo, it's nothing. So even if I want, the good things are unfortunately difficult to find and rare things. And so all the specials together at Cantillon represent less than 10%. Unfortunately for some beers, because I really want to produce more, but without the base stuff, impossible.
Yeah, that beer was incredible. That the Van June barrel beer was
we are producing a lot of beer, a lot of collaboration with Wine World, but this one is probably maybe not the best, but where both worlds are working together in a perfect way, really.
There was a question earlier about the types of grapes that we decide to use, since we all do use wine grapes in our beers. Maybe, Jean, you could talk a little bit about that.
Oh,
To start.
So the classic is the Vigneron and the Saint Venus. Vigneron, during decades, we used Muscat grapes. And for the first time last year, we worked with Viognier. Viognier is a typical white grape from center of France, also cultivated a bit in south of France. And the Saint Venus, we use Merlot. Merlot is the typical grape variety coming from the Bordeaux area. But we made experiment with fresh grapes, with Pinot d'Aunis, Menu Pinot coming from Loire Valley. With the last experiment was with Grenache from south of France. We used also Carignan and Cinsault from south of France. Coming from Italy, Aglianico for red grapes, Greco di Tufo for white grapes. So it's a story without end. We can use so many different grapes variety, and we can use the grapes. We can use the moss. We can use pomace. We can use fresh barrels. It's a beautiful world to explore.
Yeah, I think we're like you. We're so fortunate to be in the heart of wine country that we have access to so many.
Not in Belgium, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you're not far from France. But yeah, we have access to so many wonderful grapes. And Vinnie, do you want to talk a little bit about our
yeah, so years and years ago, I did a Muscat barrel beer. It wasn't with Spontaneous as a base beer, but that was certainly inspired by Cantillon. But more recently, we've done we've used Sauvignon Blanc grapes in a Pilsner. We've done Merlot grapes with Synambic as the base. And then we did an interesting Pinot Noir version that we just bottled. That base beer was a blonde ale that was fermented with conventional yeast, and then we aged it on some lees from our winery from our local winery friends at Linmar, and then we got Pinot Noir grapes from Linmar as well. So it was a bit of a collaboration. This is an interesting year for us because there is a glut of grapes here in Sonoma County, and so we're going to have the opportunity to get our hands on almost anything we want at really high quality. And with the slowdown in production and sales due to the virus, we haven't been selling as much barrel-aged beer, so we probably will have more base spontaneous beer and base blonde barrel-aged beer to use to test out. So we're probably going to make less of the Sauvignon Blanc and Intinction Sauvignon Blanc and use more of that base to trial some other beers. So, Jason?
We actually haven't done a ton of stuff with grapes here. I mean, we with our cool ship stuff, I guess because we have access to some great fruits here in the state, we've kind of decided to kind of keep those beers and the fruited beers we do in the cool ship series as local fruit. So Maine fruits pretty much. So, and a little bit of New Hampshire. So, cherries, raspberries, peaches. And we really don't, the New England region is not one for growing grapes. There are some grapes that are grown here, and they're mostly hybrid varieties that are kind of bred to withstand the kind of weather that we have here. So when we have used grapes, it's honestly been kind of a blend of what's available. There's actually a really small vineyard that's only a couple miles from us, and so that's the one cool ship grape beer we've done is with grapes from his vineyard, but it was a collection of probably 4 different varieties that are all kind of, the only varieties that can grow in this region. So we haven't really done a ton with grapes. We've really stuck with kind of local fruits mostly for that series.
Hey, Jean, I'm looking at a question. Someone's asking about bottle any unblended lambic. Like the Grand Cru you've done in the past. Do you continue to do that, or is that just on a case-by-case, year-by-year basis that you might bottle a straight lambic?
Straight lambic, yes. Brewmaster still exists, sure. And for me, it's one of the best. When people ask for what's the beer you are drinking from Cantillon and the best beer from Cantillon for you, in my opinion, it's Brewmaster, so unblended lambic and goose. That's the classic, it's for Quintessence, for example. So we present a lot of great beers or rare beers, but you will always have lambic, because I couldn't imagine a Quintessence without the base beer, without lambic.
Yep. Good.
There's a question about your goose, Jean, and what's your favorite age to drink it, and how old is it when it's past its prime?
For the blend. Yeah.
For the blend. Sorry.
Yeah, like within the blend, do you have a favorite 1, 2, or 3 year?
Oh, for the blend,
yeah.
No, 2 and 3. One year lambic is the beer used to bring. To bring some sugar for the carbonation, and to bring a beer with a bit more nervous, with more vitality. But naturally, the 2 and the 3 years old are more fine, more delicate, with more character. You feel more the breath in it. So I prefer always the 2 and the 3 years old. Yeah. Time to time
Oh, go ahead. Finish up.
Yeah. Time to time we can find a very good 1 year old, but it's uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're getting ready to bottle a batch of beatification, our spontaneous beer, for our young beer that we're adding for the sugar and a lot of the wild yeast and bacteria to do the heavy lifting to carbonate the beer, I'm always looking for just a really clean, barrel or something to use. Do you have something specific that you're looking for when you're picking the 1 year old beer to make the blend for goose?
No, it depends. When I start with a blend, when I'm building a blend, I always start with the 3 years old, and the 1 year I'm looking for will depend of the 3 and the 2 years I'm used before. So if, for example, if I start with a 3 years old with a lot of character, a bit too acidic, we will search for 1 year old, soft, mellow, even time to time tasteless, if we need it. If we start with a 3 years old beer with mellowness, with a beer fine, maybe too fine, there we will search for a 1 year old lambic with a bit more character. That's so I never start a blend with my 1 year old.
Yeah, we're fairly similar. You know, the 1 year old we kind of view as like the workhorse, like the utility infielder, if you will, the one that's gonna bring the yeast to bring the sugar. So we're typically looking for 1 year that's just not distracting, I guess, is to take away from the 2 and 3 year old.
So John, there was a question earlier about giving your spent grains to an urban mushroom farmer.
Yep.
Are you doing that?
It's very, very small volume.
Yeah.
I think they take every week about 100 kilo, 150 kilo.
Yeah.
But so they dry it to let it grow mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And they produce mushrooms on Cantillon spent grains. Yeah.
What do you do with the rest of your spent grains?
I think like all breweries around the world, farmer. Yeah.
Yeah, same for us. Yeah, we have a cattle farmer and we have a goat farmer that makes cheese.
So we are lucky enough. Brussels is a small city, and we have farmers at 20 kilometers far from the brewery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have those mushrooms? Do they taste different than like conventional mushrooms?
Like lambic mushrooms?
Honestly, I don't think so. No.
Yeah.
But they are both very good.
But it's a good story.
Yeah, sure.
There's that mushroom place out next to Mary Edwards, Natalie. That'd be we should take them some spent grain.
Oh, right. That's a good idea. Just a tiny bit.
Yes, exactly. Oh, good. What other questions you guys see that are popping up?
For your wild beers, have any of you noticed an evolution in flavor since the very beginning? If so, was this intentional? And how do you maintain consistency over so many years?
Well, I touched on it earlier that at Russian River, our early spontaneous beers were really, really tart and had really high acid. And over the years, it softened up. I think I saw a question pop up. How did that happen for us to soften them up? Part of it was we started using more aged hops. So using the beta acids in the hops to suppress the bacteria. We have better control of our barrel room temperature too. We're pretty solid now at 58 Fahrenheit, and we were definitely in the mid 60s, not quite 68, which would be 20 C, but we're much lower than that now, and I think that's pretty significant. Jean, what's the temperature of your cellar? Are you like 14 C or less or more?
We have no temperature control.
No, but what is the temperature in your barrel room?
We cold in the winter, warm in the summer.
Yeah. spoken like a true lambic brewer and blender.
No, I think the average is around 16, 18.
Yeah.
But we can go down till, it's a long time ago. We had no cold winter, but with a cold winter we can reach not so far from zero. And unfortunately, summer are warmer and warmer, and there we can reach 30, 31, 32, which is which is a real problem. That's a real problem. If we stay at 30 around 30 for days or weeks, it could be really a problem for the beer. That's but cold, absolutely not.
John, do you see a difference in the barrels that are in your lower level versus your barrels that are on the higher level?
Yeah, and the same. Now we are working on two different buildings because we bought the other building, which was also a building dedicated for lambic till '63. It was the warehouse for the Brasserie Brewery Limburg. And in this building, we never warm, so we are not brewing, because when we are brewing in the original building, we are warming the building. We have no visitors, we don't warm for visitors. And so we have a difference of temperature of 3-4 degrees, which is a lot, 3-4 degrees C. And we have a difference in between both the two buildings, and I think it's also because of temperature. And that's why we always say we won't start with temperature control, but because of the increasing of temperature, why not? We could change our mind.
Yeah.
Tom Peters asked, and actually Tom Peters, who owns Monk's Cafe, one of all of our favorite places. We've all spent a lot of time there. He was actually up here for the first batch of spontaneous beer that we brewed back in '07, and he asked what materials we used to build the spontaneous fermentation room. And I think the most unique part of it was we, a few years before '07, had to clear some land for our current facility, and we had some of the trees milled and kept the lumber. So we actually used some pine boards that were milled for this site for the ceiling of the cool ship room. And, it's kind of fun to have locally milled wood. I mean, that tree was probably standing right near where the cool ship was. And of course, that wood retains a lot of the microbes year round that get revived. We feel like when we get that room up and running and start brewing batches in it. So kind of cool to have wood milled just from the local site that's used to build that cool ship room.
That's cool. Let's see. You guys see some questions here? There's so many popping up, but
yeah.
Wait. Oh, what's this? This is one I just remember John telling me a story. What's the longest it takes for a batch to ferment, and when do you decide to dump beer? John, didn't you say you brewed a batch once in February on a bitterly cold day, and it took like 6 months?
In January.
Yeah.
Because January 10 or 11, I don't remember. But so we received for the first time an intern coming from US, and he worked for Victory in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And he took 1 week vacation to come at Cantillon and to brew at Cantillon. And unfortunately, when he arrives, it was so cold. If I remember well, nights were around -10, which is cold. I know in Maine it's not so hard, but it's cold in Belgium and too cold to brew. But because the poor guy was there for us, he took 1 week vacation to see the brewery running. We decided to brew. And so those 2 brews were made mid-January, if I remember well. February, no fermentation. March, no fermentation. Same for April. The first barrel starts to ferment end May.
Wow.
And the last one early July. And the beer was beautiful. So, but it was really too cold to brew. Yeah.
Oh.
I'd have been scared. All right, that's good stuff. So, let's see.
John, do you see throughout the brewing season, do you see a change in the speed of fermentation? Is it faster later in the season than it is early in the season?
The last year it's going certainly not faster. It's probably growing slower than the previous years. I don't know why. We see also a difference between the 2 buildings. The beer, because time to time we transfer beer, a part of the brew, in the other building, and we keep the rest in the original building. And the beer in the new building start earlier than the one we keep in the old one. And normally it should be the opposite, because, as I told you, the new building is colder. So I don't know if maybe we think about maybe the visitors. We are cleaning more in the brewery because of visitors. So it's we are thinking about it since 2 or 3 years. Yeah. So it's not a problem, but there is something different in between both buildings.
Go ahead, Rob.
I got another one. What are our thoughts on the practice of kettle souring? Yeah, Jason, do you wanna? We haven't ever done it here, right?
No. I mean, on our little teeny pilot system, we've played around with a couple, but no, we haven't done it.
Yeah, obviously it's not anything that Jean does at Cantillon. We've actually messed around with it with a beer. In fact, we just bottled it yesterday or the day before. It's called She's So Italian, and it doesn't replace the tradition of spontaneous beer or even doing a mixed culture fermentation, because you're relying only on lactic acid for a kettle sour, which pretty much is just like it's there and then it's gone. It's more sharp. It doesn't have the roundness that the Pediococcus bacteria contributes that you would get on a mixed fermentation potentially, or a spontaneous beer. But ours has kind of a story behind it. We did a collaboration with our friend Agostino from Brewery Italiano in northern Italy back 2005 or so, and he had this beer called Florette that he did a little bit of we left some grain in the mash tun overnight to sour and then ran it off, and so we recreated that recipe under the name She's So Italian, and the beer's got roses and violets and black pepper and honey. It's really pretty light sour beer, but it doesn't have near the complexity, and nor do any kettle sour beers that a barrel aged mixed fermentation or spontaneous beer would have.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I don't think we have any real issues with it per se. I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but I think it's a nice way to add acidity to a beer, and it's a one singular dimension that you can add, and you can get flavor impact from a variety of other ways. But like as Vinnie said, you just can't get the layered complexity from a kettle sour beer that you can get from, especially to take really the other end of the extreme here in spontaneous fermentation, goose like beers. You just can't repeat that with a 6 hour, 12 hour kettle sour.
No, there's definitely several brewers that I know in America that really look down at kettle sour beer. I honestly look at it just the opposite, that it's sort of a gateway beer for getting consumers to start to understand what acidity, tastes like in beer. And it's a more reasonably priced beer because it can be made on a regular, 14, 21 day production cycle, as opposed to years for making a barrel aged mixed fermentation or, spontaneous beer. So I think it can help bring people more to drinking, more classic styles. And not that kettle sour isn't classic, because you've got Gose and Berliner Weiss, which are really old German styles of beer that have been around a long, long time. So, yeah. I saw a question pop up about fruit, that traditional cherries, raspberries, grapes, peaches, blueberries. Blueberries aren't that traditional, although there's a lot of people using it. But what else have we all used beyond those fruits? Jean, what are your thoughts there?
Out of those,
because you use Fufun is
apricots, yeah.
Apricot.
We used some fruits coming from north of Europe, so growing in the wild. It's giving always very good results, because those fruits have always a very short time to grow, and are mainly fruits with a lot of character. And I think lambic, when you had fruit in lambic, the best way is to use fruits also with character. If you're working with tasteless fruits, it doesn't work mainly. And so I like to work with those kind of fruits coming from north of Europe. Otherwise, Fufun is probably the most famous. We started the production in 93 or 4, and it's a beautiful beer, fresh. But we are working with a very, very good supplier. So the producer, François Darona, so nickname Fufun, is producing very, very good fruits. That's also important. If you are making quality beer, I think it's very important to use quality fruits.
How about you, Jason? Rob?
We've kept with, like I said earlier, we focus on local fruits if we can, just because that feels like, not for all of our fruit beers, but for the spontaneous fermentation beers, it feels like, there's so much of a piece of Portland, Maine and Maine in that beer, on the east side, and even the grain. And in some cases, the hops are actually from Maine. So we've really kept stuck with mostly Maine fruits, which is somewhat limiting given our climate. So, cherries, raspberries, peaches, we have used blackberries before as well. Blueberries is the classic Maine fruit, as you probably know. But to use the fruits with character comparison, as much as I love blueberries as a fruit for my, my granola in the morning and so on, it's one of my favorite fruits. It's really not a fruit with a lot of character, as in you add fruit to, cherries, raspberries to our beer. It undergoes that secondary fermentation, and so much of that character remains. The aroma, the flavor. There's so much to those fruits, and blueberries isn't after a secondary fermentation. So much of the classic blueberry flavor that consumers are used to is gone. There's other cool characters. There's some smoky character there, and certainly some beautiful color, but it doesn't hold up over time as well. So even though we have played around with blueberries in wild beer here, it's not something we do on the regular.
We just bottled our first blueberry beer. I just made like 1 barrel or 2 barrel worth, and I think it ended up being like 6 pounds of blueberries per gallon of beer. And in the end, these 2 wine barrels, we yielded 72 gallons of beer from it, and got it in bottle. But and it tastes great, but it took so much fruit to get that character.
Yeah, same for us. We're fruit and really heavy, and I will say that if you taste those beers at 2 weeks to a month in on the fruit, you could literally pour it on pancakes or waffles. I mean, it's just sweet and lots of blueberry flavor, but then a month later, it's that sugar's gone, and so is a lot of that flavor.
Yeah. We do a beer with plum cots, which is a cross between a plum and an apricot. That's probably the more unique fruit that we use, that we release every year, called Compunction. So, what other questions we see popping up there?
What did we use? Plueries or something like that?
Yeah, similar. Plums and cherries. So plueries.
Oh, interesting.
Plueries, they're called, but most of the brewers like to call them chums, even though that doesn't have much marketing sales value. But
are they small or are they closer like a cherry?
The guy we get them from grows a couple different varieties, and so they vary from slightly large cherry to slightly small plum, so they're around the same size.
Interesting.
They're really cool fruits. Actually, the beer we make called Shiro's Delight is the base beer for that is Interlude, which you referenced earlier.
Yeah.
Nice.
Someone asked about Isabella Proximus. Is it happening again? And I've got let me grab it real quick. I got a empty bottle here that's Sam. So Sam from Dogfish invited me, Vinny, Adam from
Tommy.
Avery, and
Tommy
to go to Belgium, and gosh, a dozen years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And we went to what year was it?
6? No?
Yeah, I think that was it.
That's right. Yeah.
And we spent a lot of time at Cantillon. We spent like a whole day at Cantillon.
Shocking.
We keep talking about a reunion trip and a reunion beer, and I say, it's going to happen.
I think Sam's got to pay for it now since he, sold the company.
Definitely.
Yeah. I have a lot of funny memories about that. The beer is called Isabella Proximus because, Rob, you and I were the only ones with, that was when your cell phones didn't work there. So you and I both had like rented cell phones, and the Belgian phone company, Bell Proximus, and you and I would always be like, dude, how's your Bell Proximus?
That's right.
And then Sam came up with Isabella Proximus. I also remember that day when we were at Cantillon and we were brewing the beer with Jean and his family.
You brought some hop with you?
Amarillo, American Amarillo hops, yeah. And and he said, how much should we add? And he said, well, we're American, so if a little is good, a lot's better. And
we added the whole box, right?
I think we added the whole box. Probably not a good idea to listen to us. For me, and I think for you too as well, Rob, that trip, and then Natalie and I subsequently were back in Belgium a few weeks later for a personal trip. But for me, it was those 2 trips that really got me inspired to make spontaneous beer. I had tried to do it once before, so this would have been at like 2004, 2005 at our brew pub in Santa Rosa, but not to the extent that we had a horny tank, in there or anything, or now we have a cool ship at our new brewery. But I'll never forget something that Jean, you said to me, that like you can make spontaneous beer anywhere in the world. It just might be you might need to do a different process or whatnot. And then I remember, a handful of years later being at Allagash and tasting those early batches of your cool ship beer and just going, wow, this is the closest thing I've ever had to a Belgian, lambic spontaneous fermented beer outside. So like Allagash really captured that early on, where ours were really high in acid content to start.
Well, I remember very well when John said that to all of us, and it really resonated with me. And that's honestly, that moment that you just recounted there is what inspired me and us at Allagash to take a stab at making these beers.
Yeah.
And John was like super supportive, because obviously, I mean, John and his family have been making these beers for decades, and we knew that, I mean, we had just an unbelievable amount to learn. And so, John, I really appreciate it. You were real supportive to Jason and I to just figuring out how to get started with this.
Simply because my point of view, it's not the same for other lambic brewers in Belgium, I know. But my point of view, especially in 15 years ago, I think who more spontaneous fermentation acid beer people will found on the market, who better it's for lambic, because we have to educate people with sour. So if people like you producing great beers start to produce great spontaneous fermentation beer and great acidic beer, it's a plus for lambic. That's my opinion, and it's still the same.
It's really important, I think, on these beers. When someone goes to the store and they buy a 6-pack of pale ale and it's oxidized, it's a little bit off, I still have this feeling that consumer will go buy another 6-pack another time, whatever the brand is. But a barrel aged, acid beer is so much more polarizing that if it tastes acidic, if it tastes like balsamic vinegar, they may never come back.
No.
And, I think you guys, I can't remember, Jason and Rob, if you were at our sour beer event we did at our old production brewery before the Craft Brewers Conference. We had brought Jean and Yvonne over to help host it. And that was the whole foundation of that. Was we were at a point in American brewing where there was so many small breweries here making or starting to make, barrel acid, mixed fermentation. And I just thought it was important to get as many of the producers together to talk about it and share ideas so that, hopefully everyone's making better spontaneous or acid mixed fermentation beer.
It was a beautiful event. I remember it in all those brewers in the brewery. It was a very nice evening. Yeah.
My favorite part of that was Yvonne Debates from De La Seine Brewery. He was there, and back then two of our cats lived at the brewery, and Yvonne is a big cat lover, as you know, Jean. And about 10 minutes before the event, we had Ferdinand and Growler locked up in my office, and he comes to Natalie and I, and Yvonne says, if you can't find me, I will be in Vinnie's office with Ferdinand and Growler.
So true.
So true.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should answer like one or two more questions and then wrap it up.
Yeah, we
getting
are
a little late.
Only 25 minutes over our time, and John is
it's like 11:30,
maybe past your
right?
bedtime over there.
Yeah.
Natalie is waiting me.
Yeah. Natalie.
My Natalie.
Yeah.
It should be noted that Jean and I both are married to Natalie. So I haven't named the beer after my Natalie yet, though, like you have, Jean.
No, but you did bottle Happy Hops on my birthday.
Yeah.
And you put in the date code "Happy Birthday, Natalie." So that was pretty cool. That was cool, and you surprised me with that. That was sweet. So big points.
So I do know that so a couple people have asked, like, Friendship Blend. When is it going to be around? And John, I don't know if you want to say for sure, hopefully, that we're gonna try to pull this off next year.
So the beer is ready. But we won't serve it before the event. That's
and that would be May 1st next year too. Is that the same date, or is it?
Yeah.
2021. Yeah.
It's May 1st is public holiday in Belgium.
Yeah.
So it's easy because the brewery is closed on public holiday. So it's the easy way to organize such an event. Yeah. And next year it will be a Saturday, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So then to trail on that, we will make the American blend here quite soon. The original idea was to do the Belgian Wild Friendship blend event, a week ago in 2020 on May 1st, and then do the American events in 2021. But we were talking recently, and maybe we're going to try to do them all, as long as, Jean, you can come over after the event in Belgium, and we'll have to still nail the date down. And we would do it the same way. Yeah, what's that again?
I will come back in US with you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll all just go back. That'll be
like
good.
Rock stars.
Be like, yeah. And we'll do an event at Russian River, and then we'll do an event at Allagash, or vice versa, however it works out timing wise. And so we'll get all three Wild Friendship blend events on the same year. And so my sneaking suspicion is that the American events would happen after the event at Cantillon on May 1st, 2021.
Well, to battle jet lag, we'll just go from Brussels to Portland, and then Portland to Santa Rosa.
That's perfect. That sounds good. So I have some ideas of how we would do our event too. So at our new brewery. So we have some pretty cool ways to do hospitality at our new brewery. That'd be pretty special.
But it was so nice because the three events were all different, and finally with the same feeling, the same soul. It was very, very nice.
It was
very good memories. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Looking forward to doing it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that might be a good place to wrap up, so we can let Jean get to bed. And
I know there was a ton of questions we didn't get to.
Sorry.
But thanks to everyone who tuned in. Really appreciate it. Yeah.
So
cheers
to everybody.
So,
thank you. And everybody stay safe out there, and cheers and friendship to you guys and your families.
Yep. Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yep.
Can we see you guys in person?
Cheers.
Love from Brussels. Bye-bye.
Tell your folks hello.
Cheers.
To everyone. Cheers.
Yeah, see you, Jean.
Love you all, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
See you, Natalie and
Bye.
Vinnie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.